Peace, peace, and welcome. We're glad you're here.
To Vegas.
This is the Cook on Monday Morning podcast. I am here with the street legend, the community leader, the mayor of the block.
Whoa. Woo, now I'm really nervous.
Everybody's favorite San Francisco resident.
Yes, sir.
Takes the hood to save the hood, bro.
Yes, sir.
Rudy.
Read the wrist.
Yeah. Rudy Corpuz, Jr.
Yes, sir. I'm a junior, baby.
Glad to have you, bro.
Man, I'm glad to be up here, man.
Good morning.
I walked in, I was nervous. He looked like a gangster. I was the same thing. Got one blanket on the floor. I thought I was walking to my death. Still kind of nervous. Shoot. All right. You know we gonna jump out nowhere, is that?
Nah, man, we safe, man. You at home, bro.
Right on.
You're at home.
Cool. All right.
At Cook on Monday Morning, we believe that if you own Monday morning, you can own the week. If you own the week, you can own the year. And if you change your year, you can change your life. So,
Amen.
Amen. So Rudy, a few years ago, I started wearing a wristband. United Playaz, it takes the hood to save the hood.
Yes.
And I also for a long time was wearing a wristband from my high school, Thurgood Marshall, right? And the concept in my mind why I wear it was because I grew up in a low-income neighborhood in San Francisco that wasn't very safe, and I've been all over the world. And so with wearing like the wristband, I was like, wherever I go in the world, I'm taking the hood with me.
Amen.
I took a photo in front of the pyramids in Cairo, and I sent it to you.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, and I sent it to you because
I was
like, yo, the hood is with me.
That's right.
Wherever
take
I
the
go
person
in the
out
world.
the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person.
Yeah, the community comes.
It's in the heart.
Your history in the city is, you're still building, but you've already, I think, a certified legend in what you've accomplished for.
Thank you.
For the people. Like when I walked through, I also was telling you, I don't know if I told you the story. I was walking, I got a tour of 850 Bryant, and I walked through, where all the inmates were. Had on a suit, but I had on the wristband.
Right.
And some of the brothers inside was like, "Hey, UP," like, they instantly recognized, like, so,
That's where the hood is really at now.
You're respected by people that are in position that are sort of, being held up. You're respected by some of the city's most accomplished, wealthy people and politicians. Like everyone knows Rudy. What is United Playaz?
Hey, man, first of all, do I look at you out the camera?
You can look at wherever.
Or do I look at the player right there? Huh?
Yeah, wherever you want to look, bro. So it's audio and video recorded. Man.
Thank you, brother.
Of course, man.
For that proper introduction. I'm honored, I'm humbled, that anybody would acknowledge me as somebody, man, in that light. And I give all praise to the man upstairs, G.O.D. You know what I mean? It's all God's work, baby. God is the ultimate gangster. That's why his name start with a G. Gangsta. And so, United Playaz is something that was started by the people, the youth, in 1994 from interracial violence from different communities that was beefing, gangs, all together at Balboa High School, and came together and came up with the concept and the name of United Playaz. That's what it is, uniting the people who's willing to do something positive, productive for their people in the hood. That's what UP is. That's all it's about. 25 years now, though.
Wow. 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years, baby. October the 8th, 1994, let it be known, when it kicked off, the big fight, the big riot at Balboa High School.
Yeah, well, what was the story? What happened?
So there was a party at Balboa High School.
Like after school party with teenagers?
After school party, right. And two different neighborhoods in San Francisco was about to fight. It was all blacks at the party. It was finna fight. And they took the fight outside the party to the street. And when they was finna fight, they were squaring off. And when you want to watch a fight, there's so many people couldn't see. So some of the youngsters, some of the black dudes stood on top of the car to watch the fight of the two dudes who's finna get down. And when they was stepping on somebody's car, there was a gang of Filipinos. Filipino, hey, yo, man, get off my car. They turn around, man, fuck you. I don't know, can I apologize? Is that wrong?
Yeah, you can cuss. Go ahead.
Okay, man, fuck you. So the Filipino, they man, fuck you. So instead of being black on black, the winds turned. Now it was Filipinos against black. So all the blacks who was finna fight, they got together. So it became racial. And the fight kicked off. Hella people, man, got injured. The fight started in front of Bow, went all the way about to Taqueria, right? And it was on the newspaper. Yeah. It's on the news. You know, it's on the newspaper. Check your records. Check your files. October 8th, big ride at Bow. And so after that day, people who was black or Filipino going to school was getting jumped, right? People who had nothing to do with the beef. And so I so happened to be working at the time. I just got hired as a gang prevention counselor out of Burnham Heights Neighborhood Center. And District 11 is where everything was at while I was working. Burnham Heights, Balboa. I was sent to go work with Filipino gang members. I'm Filipino, 110%, baby, with no cut. That's me. Shit. And so when I'm up there, I noticed that hella Filipinos was getting beat up, hella black. So I got with the Filipinos, right? I said, hey, man, we got to get this stopped because ain't nobody learning now. This is a school of education. And they agreed. They said, you know, you're right. Well, who's going to get the blacks? So I got a dude named Andre Alexander. He was the coach of the football team at New Order Brothers. So he was willing to get the brothers. The administration was willing. They didn't know what to do. The principal at Bow 94 was Filipino, Ms. Monteversion. And then I got a Samoan dude named Leyte, around 6'5", 400 pounds. He was my muscle. I know Leyte from the streets. So we sat in a room like this. We had all the players at the room who was fighting. We even had to get the police to get some of the guys from who was on suspension. The principal, go get them, because we had to have all the people who was fighting. And I sat there and I said, and I really didn't know too many of them. I really didn't. And I asked a simple question. How did the fight start? We got to go all the way how it started. An original fight, remember, was the blacks on blacks. And you know what they was fighting over?
No.
It was a girl.
Oh.
Most wars start from land and girls, female. And I was like, so y'all was fighting behind that? I said, yeah. Who was the girl? They said she was. I was like, her? Y'all finna die over her? They was like, oh, hell nah. So they was like, damn, they make, like, yeah, man, damn, we tripping. And then I talked about the Filipino part. Okay, so how would you feel if somebody was standing on your car? Dude said, man, I'll whoop their ass too. I said, well, how you think that brother for you standing on his car? So it kind of made sense out of everything. Then I said, so well, how can we stop the violence? It was just us. Administration was out. The police wasn't in the room. It was just me and all the homies. They came up with all the answers. They said, man, we need to do this on campus. We need to make have flag football games. Well, football games.
Teenagers.
They just wanted something to do because there was nothing happening at Bow and lunch. And at Balboa at the time, it was like 3 schools in one. That gate wasn't there. And so the lunchtime activity was fights. It was off the hook. And so they said, man, let's have basketball games. Let's have football. Let's have talent show. I said, I can make it happen, but you guys got to help me out. I gave them the power. And they had already had the skills and the leadership. They just need somebody to give them an opportunity. They started organizing all these activities. Mixed, though. It wasn't blacks against Filipinos. They mixed the teams up. And then the Samoans and Latinos came together and they fought against the blacks another day. And then now I use the same, I use the same idea that I did with the blacks and Filipinos. Now it was blacks, Latinos, Filipinos, Samoans, and same thing. And they came up with the name. This name is a club. What you gonna name it? They named it United Playaz. They did. I didn't. 25 years later, though, they find we still pushing.
Still here.
Like a pregnant woman, baby. Shoot, Cadillac on 4 flats. We still pushing. Worldwide, baby.
Rudy with the little phrases and whatnot. Drop as many as you can. We don't count them.
They just come naturally, baby. It goes down that way.
It takes the hood to save the hood, right? Amen. So that's its own thing. That's sort of gone all over the world, and it's definitely recognized in the city.
Yes, sir.
What was the impetus of that? How did that start?
Wow. So our first shirts on the back, straight players, not no haters. That's what it would say. If you see them, those are the original. Matter of fact, look, I got on my phone right here. Old ass school flip phone.
Oh, you got a flip phone.
Look, straight players, not no haters. That's the
yeah.
original UP shirts.
Okay.
It takes the hood to say the hood came out in 2000. I think it was 5. I don't know if I got the right time. You remember what happened in New Orleans?
Yeah, Katrina.
Katrina.
Yeah.
So we have a UP chapter in the South Bronx. They decided they want to bring a group of their kids to go out and help out and clean up in New Orleans because the tragedy. So United Players from New York and San Francisco came together. We went out there. We helped build the house, one of the first houses on the 3rd Ward. And as we're doing it, I'm talking to the actual people over there, right? What happened? And they was telling us, and they said, man, nobody came to help us. I was, what you mean? They said, the mayor, the governor, the president, nobody came to help the people. They said people was drowning, people was dying. I said, who helped? They said, you know who came to help out? The drug dealers. The dope fiends. Some of them used to be doctors before they dope fiends. They started making tourniquets. They started making things that float to put people on they wouldn't drown. And they said, man, it took the people to take care of the people. And so I was like, damn, that's many, right? Here we is in America.
Right.
Nobody came to help our own people out. In America, not on the other side of the world. And so when I was at the airport, I was thinking like, damn, it takes the hood to say the hood.
Wow.
And that's what I put on the shirt.
Wow.
Takes the hood to say the hood.
Yeah.
And one of our board members used to say, it takes the thug to save a thug.
Right.
And so all that came together, and that's what we branded. Takes the hood to say the hood.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it blew up, because it does. All that means, it takes the people to say the people.
Right.
That's all it means.
Yeah, and I think it also is empowering for people that are coming from communities that all association with the hood is a lot of beauty, but there's a lot of negative association, and there's a lot of interventions that are coming from outside forces into the community, telling the community like this is what you need to do to be better, and so it flips the dynamic on itself to say like it's like that the self-determined attitude, like we can do this on our own. Matter of fact, like we are the solution to our own problems, and so it's a beautiful way to encapsulate all that. And I'm glad you were doing the work right before Katrina. The phrase came out of the work in Katrina. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, and so I think that's real poetic. That like out of all of that, seeing the similar stuff all over the place. That
Look, check that out. You see that?
Oh, well, you got a Saints, yeah.
You see the address in it?
1800.
That's the house we built.
Oh, wow.
New Orleans right there, man. That's what you see all this, man. You see the Philippines. We got a chapter in the Philippines.
You got to put this up to your face.
We got the chapter in the Philippines, New Orleans. Everything that we impacted, I got it blasted.
I actually didn't know that there were chapters all over the world.
Yeah.
God
is. That's what he does. He's everywhere. Spreads love.
Where are all the places that United Playaz has?
So we're in San Francisco. We're in 7 different schools in Frisco. We're really in every school when they call us, right? We have a lot of work being done in East Bay, right? We got one in New York, the South Bronx. I had one up in LA, up in Watts for a minute. You know what I mean? We got it in the Philippines out there. One of my homeboys who did a life sentence, he got out of prison after doing 35, and he took it to the Philippines, and he's a pastor now. So he's over there in my province where my bloodline starts. And then we also are starting a chapter in Stockton, California. And so, we're a lot of different places, but God has blessed us to move the crowd and be in locations that we would never have dreamed of. And we damn near in every jailhouse, in every prison.
Well, I want to get to all of that. What is the I know you have your headquarters down in the Soma district, and I kind of want to get into like you're kind of like a genius marketer.
I'm a hustler, baby.
And we all know who you are. We all know the organization's name. And I wanted to know like so let's just talk about this. Let's talk about this. What is it? Howard. Let's talk about Howard Street. There's like the United Playaz headquarters. There's also a family housing. Like break down sort of like the real estate and kind of where you're based here.
Right on. So I appreciate you asking that question. So I grew up. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. I'm a native. 1285 Howard Street. That's between 8th and 9th.
Okay.
Right. And so my
that's organization.
That's right.
Dang, I didn't know that.
You're born and
You
raised.
grew up on that block.
So you remember how I told you when I first started working as a gang prevention counselor, it was at Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center, 515 Cortland. They hired me because they needed a Filipino gang counselor. But what I did, that was in 94. In 2005, I asked the director, Mauricio Vela, can I move what I started with the people here into my neighborhood where there was a need? So he told me like a pimp tell a hoe, go ahead and take the program, but don't take none of the funding. You know what I mean? I was like, all right. When I was working for Bernal, I was their best hoe at the time. You know what I mean? I was everywhere doing everything I can to blow it up.
Wow.
And it was bringing in a lot of revenue. You dig what I'm saying? But I didn't know nothing about budgets. I didn't know nothing about even a community-based organization. I just wanted to help save lives. But once I started seeing how the game worked, right, and Mauricio was one of the best directors there ever was. He would teach me, he'd bring to City Hall like I do now and bring other people. He's the one who taught me all that. And so I brought back what I started in that neighborhood into my neighborhood where I'm born and raised.
Okay.
Because when I would go to juvenile hall, there was hella kids from my neighborhood. Hey, bro, why you always visiting other kids? Why you don't visit us? We from your hood. I'm like, damn, they right. And so when I first came back to the South of Market, where I'm born and raised from, with the program, the product, United Playaz, we would sell a program. 2005, we was running up out the rec center because we had no home, but we had hella kids.
Which rec center?
6th Street.
Okay.
Park and Rec, Gene Friend Rec Center.
Yep.
We was there. But after we started coming there, they started wanting to charge us. We didn't have no money to give them, Park and Rec. They got us up out of there. We was fortunate enough to get a little space in our neighborhood. And while I was there, I have a phenomenal grant writer, a phenomenal accountant, and phenomenal staff that was doing everything for free at the time. You know what I mean? And we was able to do that. And then we needed a building because we was having hella kids.
Right.
And sure enough, man, I was praying on it. I fasted when they kicked us out the rec. And we was still little. Now we wasn't a nonprofit. We was being they call that fiscal sponsored.
Fiscal
Yes,
sponsor.
we had somebody else who was a fiscal sponsor because I was getting money from the city now.
Okay.
You know, a little grant here to add up, and people was volunteering. And so anyway, it was a building. We moved in there in 2009. Right. So we're in the neighborhood 2005, 2009, we moved in the building, 1038 Howard Street, 3 blocks away from where I grew up. I used to destroy the neighborhood. Right. I used to destroy my neighborhood.
I want to get into that too after you tell the story. Go ahead.
And so we're in there from 2009, and then 2015, I was able to build a lot of good relationships, you know, through developers in the neighborhood, through tech, through the city, through just regular folks, and talk to them about a program and a product that's the best thing on this planet. And they believed in us, like I believed in what we was doing. Put your money where your mouth is. And they invested. So 2015, I was able to purchase the building that we're currently in.
So you were leasing it up until that point, and then now United Playaz owns the building.
We own the building. That's our building. I bought in 2015.
Wow, so it's been 5 years.
$3.5 million.
Woo! And so talk about the space.
So the space is,
I've been there several times.
5,200 square feet. We've got 2 floors. It's like a center I grew up in my neighborhood called Canny Kip. When I grew up in the South of Market, there was a community center called Canny Kip for the kids and the people in the neighborhood. I found out there's a difference between Park and Rec than a community center. There's 2 differences. I run a community center. Right. Park and Rec is over there. So we utilize the space because it's in our community. But our center has, you know, a facility that we can use the space to teach the way we want to teach. Not that they teach, you know, in the regular schools with that curriculum. We teach them about life skills. We teach them how to survive. We teach them the things they don't teach them in the schools. You dig what I'm saying? In a real way where they can comprehend. And so we have that space. It's like a place for kids to chill. It's their after school space. We got a game room. We got computer lab. We got a room in there for the high school kids. We outgrew our spot now. It's 2020. We building up.
You out on the floor.
We working on it. We in the process of building up because we don't have no more capacity.
Wow.
For all the kids we serve.
Yeah, my cousin Marquise watches the podcast, and his son
Marquise who?
Marquise Cook.
Oh, okay.
And his son Damani was in the program that summer. I don't know if you like Damani was running around. You remember Damani?
Man, you got so many kids.
Okay. We talked about
I know
him.
if I see him.
Yeah, we talked about him while he was there because but he really enjoyed his summer at United Playaz. And so there's like I know there's a lot of programming.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
do
my
know.
little cousin. Yeah.
You told me it was your folks.
And so he really enjoyed the space. I want to talk about the housing on the block too.
Okay.
Like, what's the story behind that? Is United Playaz involved in that?
So we had a deal with it. So there was a project. See, this is what I've been learning since I've been executive director. Before, I was just somebody who was prevention. I was in the prevention, gang prevention counselor. But as I started understanding the hustle and seeing how it worked, I built my way up and became the director, right? And so me being a director, my chase is different now. And so what I did realize is our neighborhood in Fillmore was the number 1 and number 2 neighborhoods that was being gentrified and displaced. And so I kept saying, damn, all my Filipino people are leaving. They're out of here because we have a 100-year history of Filipinos in the South Market. So I said, how can I stabilize my people to make sure they don't get displaced and moved out? And so what I started realizing, we ain't got no money here. How can we offset that? I started thinking the 21st century way. There was developments that was being built. Go to them and make sure they put money into a pot, right? To offset that the money, not for the whole city, just for our neighborhood, that money could be used to help us build and buy property and buy land. Because we wasn't generating our own revenue. We're a nonprofit. And so there was a building that was built, and this one, Chris Daly was our supervisor, smart dude, the Recon Hill. And so there was a pot that was made of money they would have to offshoot into a pot called a stabilization fund. The stabilization fund was allocated to our community with a group of people who would decide how we would use those millions to stabilize the hood. That was one way.
Okay. So the stabilization fund.
I use the bathroom. Can I use the restroom?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hold on.
Just right around the corner. Just straight back. So, and is that the only housing facility, or y'all got more?
But we have different locations in our community now that has Filipino families that are not able to be displaced now unless they want to move out. And so we was able to use some of the funding that was in the pot, right?
Are you recording? Okay, cool.
There was some of the money that's used in the pot for us to stabilize those homes that people wouldn't move out. And so, for example, there's an idea of people who've been living there since the 70s. You know, Filipinos moved in the 70s. If you've been living there for a certain amount of time, we wanted to make sure that we stabilize you and put money into the building, buy the building. And those people who, in the families that live there, they can never be moved out. And so we started using it. And then when it came to the low affordable housing, some of the properties and the lands that were there that was vacant, wasn't being used, we used some of the developers who are building downtown to offset, to give money for us to buy that land, to build affordable housing, make it 100% affordable housing. And then we will move in the families that are currently there, prioritized. And so one of the things we was doing was working with the mayor, the mayor, Ed Lee, the late mayor Ed Lee, may he rest in peace, to make sure we prioritize the people from the neighborhood that was there. If they could prove they was there, then boom, they get options. And those were some of the stuff that we was working on because it was a law, I think a federal law, you just couldn't push in Filipinos because they was Filipinos. And so we started to name some of the buildings, right? Excuse me. That's Obama.
Okay.
He's gonna have to wait.
All right, cool, yeah.
That's my homeboy, man. Barack Obama.
Hey, Barack, hold on.
I'm talking, man, to Mr. Cook. Cook.
Hold up, Barack, we got
hold on, Playboy. Turn him off right now. Now, if that was Bernie, I'd have probably answered it right now. Okay. Let's mess with y'all.
Is that your candidate?
Well, I fucks with him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right. So
it's a great plan.
So the thing about the federal housing piece, though, that I think like this is really problematic for me because when local governments and federal governments were trying to displace communities, they used race. And now as we're trying to build more housing, like we can't use it. So it was partially like a recognition of righting the past, but like there are communities that were injured, I think, that need to be specifically focused on and supported. And it's so important. And I think you already noticed how for people to feel rooted, like that has to be based on housing. So you're talking about stabilizing and leveraging developer dollars to build in your community. I think there's a lot to be said for how that intentionally is supposed to support the Filipino community. So but
there was a lot. So you know what a Moscone Center was? There was over 5,000 Filipinos that was displaced over there. And I think back then they was promised that they would have housing or whatever, but they got played and tricked. And that's why I think it's important for us to be able to sit at these tables to make sure we have lawyers when the contracts are signed, that it really stipulates, man, that people are not moving out. Because I believe they was played. They didn't know. And so, they so, a lot of people, oh, man, you work with the developers, man. Man, you selling out. Now, hell, I ain't selling out. I'm selling in. Well, I can make sure my people is leveraged and is able to stay. You can never, man, fight and get things changed if you're not able to be at a table with somebody.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? I learned that, man, a long time ago. You got to infiltrate, don't assimilate. That's how you survive. We can't match dollar for dollars with folks. So how do we survive in the 21st century when everybody's being pushed out? You got to be able, man, to sit there, man, and let them know, because we talked about this earlier. Can't nobody tell the people from our neighborhood what's best for our people. Right. You can't come from the outside and say, let me tell y'all what this is and what's good for y'all. Hell no, we the ones. And what we provide in the neighborhood when they come in is safety. We provide safety. They got to park their cars. They got to start their businesses. They got to walk down a block. And if we're not there and say, hey, yo, man, leave their ass alone, or no, don't mess with that car, or man, look at, the bikes coming by. Don't steal their bikes. If we're the protectors of the neighborhood, we have to be involved in the common denominator to make this community safe. Because don't nobody want to move in a neighborhood if it's not safe. Yeah. That's number one. You don't want to start a business. And that's the part I'm working on, and that's what we provide and what we bring. Right. It's safety to the neighborhood.
There's and you work with everybody, like you do the gun buyback program, right? Like what's the dude's name? There's some tech billionaire that I think you're friends with, one of those dudes, and Nancy Pelosi knows who you are.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So you brought multiple.
Ron Conway.
Yeah. So Ron.
Hella people mad with Ron.
Yeah. Well,
he's with Airbnb.
Yeah. Well, there's also been a lot of like some political tactics that were not like favorable, that like were implemented by either him or people that know him. And Alex Turk was on the podcast, and I know
Alex is my good friend. Alex.
Yeah. And Alex does work with. He did work with Circle the Schools, which I think was an initiative from SF City that they're all kind of connected to. Yeah. But bringing all these different folks together, like what I really respect about what you built is that people do respect you, like in all these different spaces, and you work with everybody. And so like when you are in your fundraiser that's at the press club, at least it has been the last several years, you got people that are from the community there. You got people that are police officers there. You got elected officials there. It's like everybody. Rudy is the UP. Rudy is the occasion for everyone to come in the room together.
I appreciate you saying all that, because you said a whole lot of shit in one thing. One, I just want to say and be real clear: all money ain't good money. Yeah, you dig what I'm saying? Slow money better than no money. And just to clear Ron Conway is a friend of mine, and because I know him personally, I don't like all the choices he makes, but personally, he's a good dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, he has contributed to a lot of causes that a lot of people don't know. You dig what I'm saying? That really helps out the community and safety. They don't hear that part. Right. And so, with all that said, having all these people that come together, whether it be the SFPD or some of the cats who just did a life sentence come together, that's what us players do. You know what I mean? Real play. We're able to bring people to the table to come together under one umbrella, man, and see what is the best situation to keep our community safe and thriving as a community. That's what I do. You know what I mean? I disconnect myself from the haters and connect myself with the players. That's why I fuck with you. Because you a player in real life.
There you go.
You dig what I'm saying?
I'm certified now. For everyone that had any doubt.
Bonafide certified. Real motherfucking player. You know what I mean? All them other players with all the long cars and the jewels and all that fans, they played out. They got that life sense, baby. Ain't nothing fly about that. I'm talking about the players that's doing something positive and productive for their people in the hood, just like this brother.
Right on, man.
That's those new true players right here. You heard me?
Right on. So your upbringing in the city, like you talked about, tearing up the streets before you got into sort of the violence prevention work, and I know you're really proud of your roots in the city.
Amen.
Talk about like a little bit about what your family dynamic was like what your early years were like.
Yeah. So I'm originally, my family is from the Philippines. You know what I mean? I know where my bloodline starts. But I was born at Letterman's Hospital in San Francisco because my father was a serviceman. But the first place my family moved to when they came out here was Double Rock.
Okay.
You feel me? And Hunters Point, they moved from over there to 3rd Street. And then from 3rd Street, they was by South Park. And then eventually we moved to where I was born and raised in the South of Market, 100-year history of Filipinos, 70s, right? And so I got involved in a gang when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
You know, South of Market it was a tough neighborhood. Yet, you know, you go on the streets, there's a lot of people out there, you know, growing up community, but you had to be tough. You couldn't be, either was going to be a victim or you was going to be somebody, man, that fought back.
Right.
I fought back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I joined the gang at an early age. Some of my brothers, not all of them, my family members, there's 9 of us, was involved in that same lifestyle.
Okay.
And so I got caught up early. And then during coming up in the 80s, right? And when I say gang, we wasn't no gang that was vicious or ferocious or no run around killing people. No, wasn't that type of gang. Just a group of homeboys lived together in the same neighborhood, mixed, right? Different nationalities, South of Market. But as I got older, crack cocaine came in the community.
Right.
You know, affected every hood in America, ours too. And I got caught up in it. You know what I mean? And so that lifestyle changed me from being somebody who was living as a gang banger, not a gang member, to start selling dope because it was lucrative. And everybody wanted shit. So everybody around Frisco in the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, we was balling. Everybody had shit. I had a Jeep too. You know, I had me a 5.0. My shit was the green with the phantom top, with the big 18-inch rims, with the speakers in the back, you know what I mean, knocking Too Short or some Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
Down the block, you can hear me 2 blocks, coming 2 blocks down.
Rattling everybody else's
Rattling
window.
motherfucking block.
Wow.
With a raccoon hat on. Filipino with a jerry curl and a raccoon hat.
You had a
This
jerry?
motherfucker coming down the block.
You had a jerry curl?
Hell yeah, had a curl, had a perm. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so, you know, that was me. And then, you know, a lot of my people was involved in that same lifestyle. But at a certain point, I ended up becoming my own best customer. You know how they say that rule, don't get high on your own supply? I didn't follow that rule. I ended up, man, fucking it all up. So when I was selling dope, right, I got busted. Police got me. And then a lot of tragedy started happening in my life in the late 80s, right? Early 90s. And so I started getting high and not knowing I was suppressing what I really felt. You know what I mean? Just getting high. But turned into becoming my own best customer. And I hit rock bottom. And I started robbing people and I went to jail behind that too.
Wow.
So I was on both sides of the gun when it comes to it. I know what it feels like to be a baller, damn near millionaire in the game. And they get it all took overnight. And then to become a drug addict. I'm talking about a dope fiend and looked upon not only by the community, but even your own family. Like, oh man, he ain't shit. You know what I mean? And then boom.
Yeah. So So you were arrested and you behind armed robbery, and then
Armed robbery.
What was it?
So when I first got busted as an adult, I got busted with crack cocaine.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Powder and crack.
Right.
I was in 1988. You know what I mean? My mom's birthday, June 16th, 1988. I was coming, you know, South of Market TL, District 6, riding through my Jeep, riding through the TL, picking up my money, you know, making transactions, and then got pulled over. The police was watching me. You feel me? They pulled me up, so I got busted. They gave me 3 years for that. You know what I mean? I was on probation, and I caught another case for assault.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And they dropped that to a battery charge, which was a battery charge. But, you know, sat down, and then my father passed away. fucked me up. My nephew passed away. You know what I mean? One of my nieces passed away. Some of my homeboys was dying. And so I would get high. And I started doing other shit that I normally wouldn't do. 'Cause I was never no gangster. I was never no, but I did some gangster shit, stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like robbing motherfuckers' houses, gunpoint robbing people with they dope, stupid shit. And I got busted.
Got it.
You know what I mean? For that shit. And so I learned my lesson. You know what I mean? And with the same spirit that I have even when I was involved in gangs and I was hustling, I still do the same shit. That's how I run UP. With the same spirit, with the same commitment, with the same velocity and dedication.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's so interesting, like watching you and seeing you, because the way that you, so you're very, you know, articulate and colorful and expressive, right? Yeah. And you don't switch up. Like, no matter who you're talking to, it's the same Rudy, you know?
Hey.
And so when they, you know, you wouldn't necessarily associate someone that like shows up in the world as you, that has like a $3 million facility, building housing down the block, connected to people of all different socioeconomic, you know, up and down the power strata. And so you really came up and did it. And like, you know, and Nipsey Hussle was like my favorite rapper. He still is one of my favorite rappers, you know?
Yeah.
And
yes, sir.
I see a lot of similarities, you know? But I do want to talk about your road to recovery, because I think that's an important piece. So like you obviously are no longer a hard drug user.
Nope.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that. And so
Man,
what was
I
that
puff
process?
on some weed every now and then. You feel me? You know, I know weed has helped out a lot of people. Helped me out. You know what I mean? And I mean, you know, I know, man. It's
But what was that like,
keeping things in
getting off that and like getting your life back together? What was that like?
It was tough though. I mean, you know, I used to smoke weed all the time when I was young.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And when I switched and I started getting high for coke, you know what I mean, and smoking crack, it was different when I started smoking weed again, because I started getting high for many, many, many years. Even when I was in jail, I was getting high. Dig what I'm saying? For 10 years of my life, from 87 all the way to 97, I was caught up in the system. You know what I mean? Going in and out. And I started UP in 94. I still went to jail when I was with UP, when I first started it, because I was Dr. Jack in the morning, Mr. Rob your ass at night still. You know what I mean? Faking like I was really doing it. I just needed a job. But then in 97, I had my first son, and I caught a case, a high-speed chase with the police. And I came from a rally about stop the violence.
Wow.
But I had even a client in my car. Speed through the Tenderloin. I crashed in Chinatown.
Wow.
But anyway, I told myself, man, I can't be a hypocrite, because in my spirit, I still was feeling bad. Like, damn, here I am telling everybody, you know, I'm here helping the community, but I'm still fucking up. Because remember, 97, I was still in Burno.
Yeah.
So I'd be in Burno and I'd be up there doing my work. When I go home to South of Market, I'll still be on the block. So I was living two worlds.
Right.
And so 97, I made a commitment to myself that I would always go forward and never look back. And since 1997, I went more on a narrow road. Not to say I ain't never, you know, partied or nothing like that. And I still drink, smoke weed every now and then. But I do not do none of the things and the choices that I made back then.
Yeah. And I mean, and you built something that a lot of people rely on. You have employees. You got a lot of people that are coming up and showing up to the spot, and
That's hard. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, this 2020, we just ended up, March 2nd, 2019 of October, which just passed, the police raided my house. Kicked in my door during the day of my fucking 25th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, the police ran through my house.
For what?
Because they was looking for my son's clothing. They said he was implicated in a shooting.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so the police, the relationship I knew how me and the police have, you know, me and the chief, I'd be cool as shit. That's my brother. You know what I mean? But they had to do what they had to do. But I felt as though they could have handled it better.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
do all kind of shit with the police, community events. And then when it came down to it, when they kicked down my door, and I'm a community, I'm like, man, I ain't got nothing to hide. They go, I could have gave you the keys to my house.
Right.
And so, you know, I kind of felt disrespected.
Right.
I was disrespected.
Right.
And I was upset. And me and the chief had a good conversation, you know, because he was at my event that day.
Wow.
You feel me? 25th year anniversary.
Damn.
UP.
I want to talk a little about public safety, because you talked about like keeping the community safe. You talked about being someone that wasn't safe, and now a lot of your life's work is around stabilizing the community, keeping people safe, giving young kids a safe place to be themselves. You know, even young kids that at times may be aggressors, like they are the aggressors of things that are unsafe, and they come to UP and they meet people they relate to. They find out another way, right? What are some of the top challenges that the city has right now around public safety?
I think it's, there's so many different things when it comes to public safety in the community. If you look at when people ain't got the adequate things they need, housing, food, and medical.
Right.
When you don't have that for the people who need it the most, it's going to be problems. And where I grew up and where I'm from, District 6, south of Market Tenderloin there, it's all around there. And so the safety issue is tough around it because you got a lot of mentally ill. You got a lot of drug addicts. You got a lot of people out there who are just angry and frustrated because they're all condensed being put into one place.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's tough on it. And so that's the safety issue. But I truly believe the motto takes the hood to save the hood. There's a group of brothers, you know them, Urban Alchemy.
Sounds familiar.
They're all dudes who came home, who did a life sentence.
Okay.
Majority of them.
Wow.
And now they're being given jobs, opportunity to protect and keep the community safe. And so this is a part of the solution. You know what I mean? It's that. It's a part of the solution. What the SVIP team. You feel me?
Yeah.
Brothers from the hood who know the community, know how to neutralize things before the police get involved. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Like the fight that happened at Washington,
Yep.
the big fight.
Yeah.
So before anybody can get involved, we're already up there, bringing the people together from the different parties and having a conversation of how do we, just how UP started. Man, they was already there squashing and shaking hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you had to bring some, not true to it, but you had to bring some logic to it of what's going on. And a lot of these kids, I feel like, they just need somebody there to be able to mediate it in a way where they can comprehend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And somebody there that cares.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, anyway, the safety is paramount in our neighborhood. Like I said earlier, you can have a business, you can live there. If your community is not safe, then it's a wrap. And so that's what we want to make sure we bring to our communities is safety. And all the people out there who are homeless, the people out there who's in drug, let's give them the proper services that they need so they can survive and thrive successfully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you out on the street and you crazy as hell, man, and you can't be dealt, let's get him the services he needs. Bring him to a facility where he really needs. He don't need to be locked up in jail. He need to go to a place where he can be fixed. You know what I mean? Right. And if you commit crime and you get busted, don't get mad. Part of the game. What Beretta say back in the day, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't do it. It's real talk.
You rolled up. You was playing some old school music when you. I heard you in your car rolling up. In terms of the issue at Washington High School, there was a big fight that broke out, and just people that may not have seen it, and it was all over the news. It was like some kids got jumped, and we've had some issues in the news around like school climate in general. We call it a blanket term, school climate, like bullying, violence, stuff that was very common when I was growing up in the city.
Right.
And stuff
you know about that? Sure.
Yeah. And stuff that we didn't have like cameras to record. And I really feel like my school wasn't the place that I could go to get it resolved. I feel like I just had to deal with it. And so I think about that now, like, someone that is charged with the safety of children in the city and knowing the realities of how like kids aren't really relying on their schools or their parents if there's like a real issue that comes up, so it is it's an unfortunate thing, like after all of what you've done and what you've built and all the experience that I have and what I know to be true, we haven't been able to like close it out to zero.
But and that's what I'm saying, like even with Nipsey Hussle, man, the marathon continues. You dig what I'm saying? This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so we got to make sure, man, we know what resources. San Francisco got so much shit, you know what I mean, compared to other cities. We'll be wrong if we don't learn how to use what we got to make it right. We just got to make sure we hold people accountable who's getting the resources. Because some people, man, they have programs in schools, I believe, man, ain't doing their job right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll call brothers like me and you to come over there to stop their shit, but that's what they get paid for. So they're not really the expert. So if you got a car, man, that's breaking down, you don't take it to a dentist. You take it to the automobile shop to get it fixed. So when you have people who has issues when it comes to violence, or it comes to issues, man, of neutralizing situations, when it comes to that, call brothers like us who know how to deal with the shit. You dig what I'm saying? Get us up in there. Make sure, man, that the people are being used for the right reasons. And sometimes you have administrations in school, they mean well and they teach well, but when it comes to that shit, they don't know how to deal with it. Dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so get the right people to deal with it. One hand washes the other. Listen what a community is. We all work together.
Right.
It ain't me versus you and you against me. No, we here together. Because when you throw that rock in the pond and it hits, it's going, man, spread ripples everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Nah, I completely agree with that. And I think the only thing that's unfortunate, anybody that is involved in a situation where like they are the victim of violence, it's like, I know what that's like. I feel for you. And I wish I can create a world where that didn't happen to you, and that's the only part that I'm, that's upsetting, is that like, we know what works and we still aren't doing it in enough of a preventative way to keep it from happening. It's like something that does come up. We get incident reports with our schools like every day.
Look at the kids who are coming from other countries. They're not being heard. A lot of them been saying for the long, yo, man, I'm getting bullied, man. I need some help.
Right.
Somebody, man, and after a while, man, that's why people join gangs. That's why, man, people drop out. You know what I mean? I wouldn't send my kid to a school if I knew my kid was going to school, man, and they was getting bullied or getting punked on. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, man, you calling your whole hood to come back over to the school, man, to defend yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how a lot of it, I think, starts, and a lot of parents need to be held accountable. My kids ain't doing nothing, but goddamn, look at the video. That's him stomping on somebody.
I mean, we got incidents of like parents starting fights with other parents.
That's the hardest though.
Over their kids
when the parents come up there and they start fighting with each other. Yeah, man, it's hard to stop it then.
Yeah, that happens, and that happens here. It happens in Oakland. It's like it happens in the neighborhood. You know? Like so. I want to
bring boxing into school. Get some gloves and go up in there.
You say you competed in Golden Gloves?
I fought before. I used to fight down at Newman's Gym when I was younger.
Newman's Gym. Okay.
Newman's Gym in the TL.
Because
I was a featherweight.
I saw you like do like a little right hook one day. I was like, oh, you really know what you're doing. You know how to put your body into that.
Hey, shouts out to all y'all boxers this weekend. We went to go see Andreas fought this weekend.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Andreas, he works for the probation department.
Okay.
Him and Will, man. Shouts out to y'all brothers out there, man. Keep doing your thing. Representing Frisco.
Right on.
Will the Thrill.
You're one of the city's, I think, great street ambassadors, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I always end the podcast talking about leadership and legacy. Do you have any guiding principles when it comes to leadership?
It sounds like an easy question, but it ain't. But I always feel like it's our responsibility and duty to educate and teach the youth the truth. And my legacy wants to be into the people where they continue to make the movement about the truth and about building. Because you got to build people first before you could build anything else. You know what I mean? A church ain't a church without the people in it.
Right.
And so my whole thing, man, is leaving that legacy, man, of educating and teaching the kids who are actually not just the future, they're the present, the truth about, history, about this history in San Francisco. Right. And have them be the ones who push the line to make this a safer and better community and city for our people here. You know what I mean? But then above all that, and this is real controversial, is to teach them, man, about who actually, man, created everything, who brought this all together, which is God. Because one thing in life, though, Stedman, one thing in life we all guarantee. You know what that is?
What's that?
Death. Without death, life has no meaning, baby. And to me, a lot of people are alive, but they ain't living. So where you gonna go when you die? You dig what I'm saying? I want them to have a spiritual connection with someone when they die. Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, baby. That's what saved my life through this whole thing. You know what I mean? I'm on borrowed time, player. I done seen, man. I done been to hell. I swear to God, I done been to hell. Feel me? Like really died and was there and was able to get back up. You know what I mean? And so give them that spiritual food. Like they say, man can't live on bread alone.
Right.
You got to have that in your life. And that's one thing I want to install into the youth also. You know what I mean? You can't go wrong, man, when you got God with you.
Yeah.
That's real talk.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I have faith. I'm a believer, and I know that like all of us grapple with trying to fill this void. This, and they call it the God-sized void. We try to fill it with like titles or money or women or drugs or sex or like social media likes. People are like,
something has to have for them to be driven, for them to be accepted and wanted. And I'm gonna tell you, man, the true solution of survival to me is salvation, brother. Because I didn't have millions of dollars and that didn't make me happy. You dig what I'm saying? The only thing that kept me, man, strong and able to move forward is the spirit, man, that I had in God. You know what I mean? And that's what kept me strong and motivated to this day. Because to me, there's a difference between being happy and being joyful. Happy just means like at the moment, it's Friday, you got paid, the sun's shining on your face, it's happening now, you happy. But shit, Sunday come, you done spent all your money and your ass broke and you sad again and you hurt.
right. Yeah.
Where joy is, man, when you could be content being broke because you happy, when you die, where you going in life. You dig what I'm saying? And this is all temporary. You know what I mean? You didn't know, like I knew a lot of people, man, who's gone just overnight. You know what I mean? And so, that's the legacy that I want to install with the people is the spirit of love. That's it. Like you do, brother, all the time. You giving out love, brother.
Yeah, man.
Unconditional.
We love on Monday morning.
Amen.
And throughout
Monday
the week.
Love. Monday love.
Thank you,
Tuesday.
Mr. Corpuz Jr.
Oh, you're welcome. It's all
Appreciate
love,
you,
baby.
bro. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, man.
That was all?
Almost.
Shoot, man. I was just getting started.
Oh, you got some more to say?
Huh? No, I just want to say, though, it takes a real one to know a real one. I'm proud of you, man, what you doing. I seen, man, your direction, what you've been pushing and where you going. And your life is just beginning, brother. I'm saying that, man, wherever you go and whatever you do, when you stand up for what you believe in, trust me, man, I know you standing for the right reasons, brother. I know you. I know your spirit. I know you know what you do, how you do it, and you're unselfish. You do it for the people. I seen what you do. I seen how you touch young people. I seen how you touch older people. And they got love and respect for you, man. You got heavyweight respect from your brother right here.
Right on.
So he getting it straight from the Gorilla Pino. You know what I mean?
Right on.
And see, do what you're doing, man.
Right on.
Continue to do God's work. God's work, and thank him. Because he gave you what you got. You bless. You blessing the blessing.
Amen.
You're a blessing to the blessing. So.
Right on.
No fingerprints, see that? No fingerprints.
Thanks, Rudy, bro.
You're welcome, baby. It's all love. Yes, sir.
Peace, and thank you for listening to another episode of Cook on Monday Morning. At Cook on Monday Morning, we believe that if you own Monday morning, you can own the week. If you own the week, you can own the year. And if you change your year, you can change your life. Rudy Corpuz Jr. has definitely changed his life. What an incredible journey, and what an awesome, testament to just what's possible when someone from the community really decides to take charge to rebuild his or her community. That's exactly the type of outcomes we want to see at Cook on Monday Morning. That's the type of work that's already happening. I think in places like San Francisco, Rudy is evidence of that, and it's happening all over the country. So I'd like to thank him for sharing his story, talking about United Playaz, and for the inspiration that he's given myself and countless others. So thank you, Rudy. I'd also like to thank the people that make this podcast possible. I'd like to thank my videographer and producer, David Topete. Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank Fernando and Cinco Marquez for the editing he does for the newsletter. I'd like to thank Icy House for the mics for the podcast. And I'd like to thank all the people that make San Francisco the beautiful, incredible, amazing place that it is. I'd like to thank our teachers, our school lunch workers, our custodians. I'd like to thank our first responders, the people that keep our streets clean, the people that drive our buses, the people that are doing the hard work of supporting the marginalized. You are all what makes San Francisco the beautiful, incredible city that it is. I'm your biggest fan. This podcast is for you. It's for you, and it's for people that are building in cities like Oakland, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Detroit, Miami, Chicago, anybody, anywhere that is improving themselves, improving their communities, changing themselves, changing the world. I like to build with you. I like to connect with you. Please stay in touch. You can find me on Twitter at Stevon Cook, on Instagram at Stevon Cook. We've been on this journey to get to 2,020 subscribers. If we get there or if we don't, we're continuing to build, and we're doing that together. So thank you all. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Peace, and we out.